In this video, I thought to myself that one of the things that I researched on the lyre, I say researched in the loosest possible sense here, but one of the things I looked at was at different picks, and I was kind of intrigued as to whether or not the picks made a difference in sound, whether or not they were usable, all sorts of issues really surrounding that. And so over time, I don't know whether you can see, but I've got really quite a collection of different sorts of picks. So what I wanted to do was to just go through some of the pros and cons of different types of picks that would be used, and I mean, ultimately it's you that's going to reach the conclusion, not me, but I'm going to sort of just play them on here, and so you can have a listen. Some of these are homemade as well, so beware. So I'm going to need to get those out, so you might see a small cut as they've just landed on the floor, so I shall see if we can pick them up. One of the things about picks is that they were definitely used by in the Middle Ages, the early Middle Ages, when this instrument was around. So we're talking about sort of 12th to 15th century. There is evidence in archaeological digs that they used them. There is also some evidence in literature as well that's available that suggests that they used them as well. And we've got examples, like I say, from the archaeology of non-perishable picks, so the metal ones, for example. It's also documented that people used the fingers and the nails. It's so in fact, it really is a case of like, what is your preference? What works for you? And I think the first thing that I did was to have a look at the different types of pick that I could use, and I suppose it doesn't really matter whether these are Nile string or whether these are steel, but essentially this is the first pick that I'll use, which is kind of like the plastic pick that you would use with a guitar, and this is what I found. So what you can tell from that is that it's got quite a sort of like a jaggedy type of a sort of almost percussive, scratchy board sort of sound to it. So in other words, if I blocked all the strings here, that's the kind of like a sound that accompanies pretty much everything that you do. Is kind of and so therefore I kind of wanted to get rid of that sound, and so I tried a number of different strategies, and really I started off really with different types of pick. So this one's like a fabric-y sort of type of a pick, so you can sort of feel it's kind of like got a fabric sort of feel to it, and it's much nicer. But you still, there's a little bit of sort of sound that is underlying that. It's not quite as sharp really as the plastic pick, but it's still there. So I'm going to put that one to the side. Other materials, this one's a rubber one. Okay, so it's nice, it's alright, and again it takes a little bit of the edge off of the scratchiness of the plastic one, and so it's still a bit of a sound to it. These wear out after a while, but that one's been going for a while, so they don't wear out that quickly, but still making a bit of a sound there. So why not try leather? So leather pick, and I think that this is possibly something that they would use. We won't, archaeologists aren't going to find leather picks because they'll all be perished, but it's quite possible that they would have used leather, and I think as far as picks go, this probably would be my favourite. Okay, let's just hear it scratch. Still there, still that kind of scratchy sort of sound that you can get with that. But having said that, of all of the picks like this one, I would say that I prefer. Yeah, leather is probably the better material, I think. Another one, because one of the things that I sort of also thought about picks, and if you actually watch people playing, you know, with picks, quite often they'll have them up here on the and so they'll do a bit of plucking. All right, and then they'll pick up the pick and carry on with the strumming element, and which is fine, but there's always going to be a gap. So what if I want to do some more picking? I've got to put the pick back again. You can rest it on your knee or whatever it is in order to go back and actually start picking the instrument. That makes life awkward. So there are some solutions to that, as long as you don't mind slight scratchiness, and that is you can go for these sorts of picks here, which will go essentially onto your finger or onto your thumb actually. So, and that's going to stay on your thumb now, so I don't need to actually hold on to it. And so I can actually do a little bit of plucking of the strings, but also an element of strumming with a pick. So you get the volume, and I think that that's really one of the reasons why people would use a pick, as opposed to their fingers, because really it is much louder. Again, a similar sort of a pick. I forget what this one's actually called. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is called a slick pick. So yeah, I know I'm old enough for glasses. And there's some other ones as well which are very unusual and interesting that you can get hold of. Which are, I mean, I quite like this one actually. As picks go. Scratch. Okay, so other materials that I've used in the past would include, believe it or not, elastic. So what I've done is to actually create a elastic pick, which is all stitched up, and there's several layers of elastic involved there, and you can see there's kind of like a gap for my thumb to go through, so I can pluck away on the instrument if I wanted to, as well as strumming. So and I quite like the material for some strange reason. It really does cut down the actual scratchiness. So let's just try the scratch test. It's not so bad. Let's compare that with the plastic pick. Okay, and then we've got the elastic pick. Okay, it's much less. Let's try one or two. This is like a fabric-y type pick here. It's not bad either, to be fair. And then the rubber one I think is also reasonably good. Okay, so really different materials do have an impact, but you still kind of get that kind of scratchy sort of like effect really on the strings. So another Another possibility would be to use these things actually, and they've got like little ridges on as well. These are thumb and finger guards which are used on the guitar for new players. Okay, and they have these little bobbles on the surface, which and if you put it onto your thumb, I've got a stack load of these, and because they come in about 20 in a pack, and so I tried just using these, and the idea is, does this work? That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, and also you know, if I wanted to, I mean, I'm not really sort of going to play anything. I'm just demonstrating that you can pick the instrument as well if you wanted to. So those are not too bad, and like I say, they're ten a penny, and also you can pick as well, and because it's got little ridges on it, just means that. And also the other thing is, let's just say that you have, if you damaged your finger for some reason at work. You know, some people work in manual industries, and if you damage your finger, then this is quite nice because it covers that up, and it means that there's no trauma on your fingers, you know, to actually play the instrument. So, what do I actually prefer? I think I prefer my fingers, actually. The thumb, let's do the scratch test. It's probably the least of all. And also your nails can really sort of create quite a bit of sound actually. So on the string, so in other words, to actually generate some volume. I would say on the whole, fingers are less volume full. And so therefore, if you want to really sort of like power out and from an acoustic perspective without having to use an electroacoustic lead, the electric lead, then you want to use a pick probably, and then you're just hoping that it's mainly strumming that you're doing, right? But if you want to try and be, you know, doing a little bit of picking but also a little bit of strumming, then really your fingers. And the other thing about, you know, just using your fingers is that, like I say, your thumb can be mainly to do with the bass. So. So there's kind of like a combination really of the thumb, bum 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 bum, on the bassy bits, which are towards us on the instrument with these strings, okay, with the string setting, and then of course the higher notes which are away from us on this instrument string setting, right, are actually sort of like played with the nails essentially, okay, and that's what works for me, but I have no idea what works for you. Good luck to you.